So let's start with today's discussion with our first topic, that is the Eastern Economic Forum. You must have read it in the newspaper recently, a very important topic, Eastern Economic Forum. As the name itself suggests, नाम से ही बहुत कुछ समझ आ सकता है. It will be talking about eastern region of some country, some area. Then it will be focused on the economic potentials, economic advantages of that area, and it is a grouping that has been formed, you can say, to leverage the economic benefits of a eastern region, right? Now अब ये कौन से eastern region का, which eastern region is under discussion, right? So here in this forum the discussion is all about the far eastern district of Russia. Right, Russia is divided into these various kind of units, right, regions, and the one that we are discussing in this East Economic Forum, it will be this Far Eastern Federal District, right. Now this area is highly rich in different kind of resources. Firstly, fisheries are abundantly present in this area. Oil has been found to be present in this area. Then natural gas has been found to be present in abundance. Russia is also the leading holder of natural gas reserves in the world. सबसे largest reserves of natural gas are found in Russia, and this is one region of Russia that houses high amount of natural gas reserves, right. So that is why also this region is important. Then there is diamonds also discovered in this area, right. So this area has all such advantages. अब आप देख लीजिए, when there are so many resources, mineral resources, energy resources, fishery resources and other economic resources that are present in this region, that means this region will be very economically significant for Russia firstly and for the rest of the world also, right. So now what Russia is trying to do through this Eastern Economic Forum, it is trying to invite other countries to come and invest money in this area and, you know, leverage the economic benefits, right. The countries will benefit by getting access to all these essential resources, and Russia will benefit by getting the required revenue from this area. अब दूसरी countries आके invest करेंगी, so they will have to pay some taxes, some royalties to Russian government, right. So you see Russia is undergoing a war, यूक्रेन के साथ वॉर चल रही है. द इकोनॉमी इज सफरिंग अ लॉट बिकॉज ऑफ द ऑनगोइंग वॉर. सो रशिया एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम इज ट्राइंग टू प्रमोट दिस रीजन, द इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी इन दिस रीजन, सो दैट रशिया कैन गेन मैक्सिमम इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट. यहाँ से पैसा कमाएंगे, राइट, टू फाइनेंस द वॉर दैट इज गोइंग ऑन. अब राइट, so that is what is written here. It was established first in 2015 to encourage foreign investments in Russia's Far East. ठीक है, दूसरी countries को invite करना to invest in Russia's Far East. For that, Russia first started this forum in 2015. Right now, that is what it is saying कि यहाँ पे economic potential is very high. Business conditions are very suitable and investment opportunities are huge, right. आप किसी भी चीज़ में you can invest in the fishery development sector, fisheries निकालिए and you sell it to the rest of the world, right. You can invest in the oil sector and get the required raw material for your energy security of your country, right. Then you can also invest to extract the precious diamonds from this area, right. So in different ways you can invest your money in this high economic potential area, in this area that hold high economic potential and has good business conditions also. Russian government खुद invite कर रही है, तो फिर वो यहाँ पे सारी conditions भी इंश्योर करेंगे, good infrastructure, ease of doing business की जो हम बात करते हैं, that is what is available in this region. So this region is very high potential area for economic activity, investment activity, business activity, right. So अब देखिए, if there is an area that has high economic value, So you will see the dominant presence of the larger powers of the world, and here in this part of the world China is one important power. US तो आएगा नहीं रशिया में इन्वेस्ट करने इतना enthusiastically, so which power is left? That is China. So you see China has the second largest economy of the world. It is putting 90% of the investments in this region. जितनी भी total money is there, the total investments that are there in this far eastern region, out of that 90% have been invested by China itself. China has invested 90% of the total investments made in this region, right? So this region is of high economic value for Russia, and that is why Russia is now attracting different countries. So आप देखिए South Korea, Japan, India, China, all these major South Asian powers, they are interested in putting their money in this region, and Russia is providing ease of doing business to them. Russia is inviting these nations to come and invest in this region, right? Now, if you have understood the basic relevance of this region, you can also understand that how will this region be significant for India. If I ask you what will be the significance of this region for India, obviously India can make use of all the resources and provisions provided by this region, right? We can extract fisheries, invest in fisheries industry, again we can ensure our energy security. We are very much dependent on the Middle East for our oil needs. So this region can help us diversify our oil sources also. 70-80% we are importing from Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, etc. So अगर ये हो सकता है हम इधर से भी oil ले पाएँ, we will not be heavily dependent on that region only, right? So it will ensure energy security and it will help India diversify its energy sources, right? And then India also has a booming diamond industry. आप देखिए Gujarat is a major provider of diamonds to all around the world. So those diamond businessmen in Gujarat, they will be very much interested in extracting diamonds available in this region, right? So that is why you see recently a group of business representatives from Gujarat and a region, Sakha region in Russia, they have launched agreements in the diamond industry specifically. Representatives from Gujarat and Sakha, this is mainly you can say Russian region, right? The two have decided to cooperate on the diamond industry sector and second also on pharmaceuticals, right? So this is how India can strengthen its engagement with the region. Already India is investing strong or great money into this region. India has offered to invest $1 billion in the form of line of credit to develop infrastructure in this region, right? So India is trying to leverage the complete potential that is held by this region, right? So different ways mein, this is also a form of para-diplomacy, a very important word in your international affairs, para-diplomacy. That is when you use subnational governments, that is state governments or local governments, subnational governments to promote diplomacy, to interact with the other parts of the world and leverage the economic and non-economic benefits. So यहाँ हम Gujarat, as we are seeing in this example, Gujarat is acting as a connecting channel between India and Russia. We are using Gujarat to leverage the potential of this diplomatic relation, right? So this is a very important topic. Relevance of EEF for India, already I have told you, we can extract fishery resources, energy resources like oil and natural gas. This area is also very rich in wood, राइट. फॉरेस्ट एरिया, ग्रीन एरिया इज हाई हेयर, सो वुड को भी एक्सट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं, डायमंड्स एंड अदर मिनरल्स, right. So there are a lot of natural resources that are there in this area that can be exploited by India for its developmental needs, for its economic growth, for its energy security, for diversifying the sources of energy, for promoting businesses, and to strengthen our overall bilateral ties with Russia. जितना ज़्यादा we will be involved in this Russian region, Russia will be happy and Russia will have strong and friendly ties with India, right. So हमारे बहुत सारे economic interests will be met and also our diplomatic foreign policy interest will be ensured if India participates in the East Economic Forum or this Far Eastern region, right. So ये first set of you can say advantages और relevance हो गई इंडिया के लिए. The next set of relevance is demographic. You can say इंडिया को demographic और social advantage भी है of being part of this grouping. How? Now see this area has very limited population. जो ये फार ईस्टर्न रीजन आप देख रहे हैं रशिया का, दिस रीजन has very small or sparse population, right. So now you want to extract all these resources. For extracting these resources, for setting up businesses here in this region, you will need manpower, right. You will need manpower, you will need labor that can work to extract, you will need managers, right. You will need investors, bankers, financial institutions, right. So that means this region will create lot of employment opportunities, and when Russia itself has less population here, that means India can take its own population to these far east region of Russia, right. So that means India will get demographic or social benefit also by being related to the East Economic Forum, right. So this is the next advantage. बहुत important है, इस पे question आ सकते हैं. This region is important for all the reasons that we are discussing. पहले तो there is economic advantage that we are gaining from this region, right. Second is this diplomatic advantage of having strong ties with Russia. Third is the social or demographic benefits that India can get by providing employment opportunities to its population, entrepreneurship opportunities to its population, venture opportunities to Indian youth. India can take its youth to this region and they can work in any capacity that they want to, as laborers, as investors, as businessmen, as financial operators, right. And the final objective is the strategic location of this Far East region. This is the key, the strategic location. You see this Far Eastern region, it is linked to Asia on the southern side, it is linked to Arctic in the northern side, right. So now this acts as a gateway for Russia to reach Asia, and it acts as a gateway for Asian nations to reach the Arctic also, right. So in countries like India that have a lot of interest in exploring the Arctic routes also, right. Polar Arctic policy also India has, India is developing. So in that perspective also this region can act as an important gateway for India to access this area of you can say Arctic, right? So strategically, again, the strategic location of this region is also very important, right? So for all these reasons, the East Economic Forum is very important, and that is why we see increasing involvement of India in this region. तो इस पे question आना भी possible है. This you can remember with this mnemonic, all the economic benefits: fisheries, oil, wood, natural gas and diamond, right? Found जो हम लिखते हैं U की जगह W, and you can remember these. You can use such tricks whenever you want to remember a lot of information that is otherwise difficult to remember. Rote learning से नहीं होती है. You can always use such mnemonics, right? So that is how this entire EEF is relevant for India. बहुत ही important concept है, right? Now the next important topic, that is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We have already discussed this organization in great detail in last Thursday's session. I have discussed that how SCO evolved, how from Shanghai 5, a grouping of 5 members, it saw the involvement of Uzbekistan, and then later in 2017, India and Pakistan also became a member, and now the most important event of this summit, ये जो अब 2022 में 17 सितंबर को summit हुआ, the most important development was that Iran was inducted as the full member of SCO, right? So initially there were just 5 members when it was known as Shanghai 5, then 5 plus Uzbekistan became a member, then these 6 plus India and Pakistan gained membership in 2017, together they gained the membership, and now we see the 9th member coming to SCO, that is Iran. So इस पे confusing questions prelim में भी आ सकता है, right? कि how many members are there. अगर आपने ये development नहीं देखी है, the induction of Iran into SCO, you tend to mark the option that is 8. Even if you listen to my last Thursday's discussion, there I will be discussing that there are 8 members in SCO, because at that time there were 8. But now in this summit, Iran has been inducted as the full member of SCO. So now we have 9 members in SCO. So remember this is an important development that I wanted to discuss through this video, right? India has also raised an important point that if we want to make SCO effective, then we need to ensure smooth transport movement of goods and people in this region, right? So for example, India is trying to establish a Tapi pipeline, ठीक है, तुर्कमेनिस्तान, right, से लेके India तक we are trying to establish this pipeline, but it is blocked for various reasons, one dominant reason being non-cooperation by Pakistan, right? So India is saying if you want to utilize the full potential of the SCO as a grouping, we need to ensure regional connectivity and full transit rights for all the member nations, right? So these are the important developments. Add these to the notes that you have on SCO, right? Which state in India has highest foreign investments? They are making or they are receiving, you are asking, and it keeps changing over the years. It's very dynamic. So abhi ke liye recent data will have to check to provide the information, right? Now FATF is a topic that remains in news every time. Kuch hi days pehle also FATF was in news that it is conducting some investigation in Pakistan, right? So we will discuss this grouping FATF in detail, right? Now FATF का full form is Financial Action Task Force. Financial Action Task Force. So as the name says, this grouping will work in ensuring the safety and security of the global financial systems. The entire motive of this organization, why this grouping was established, was to ensure safety and security of the global financial systems from all kind of the illicit or illegal financial activities that happen all around the world. Right? There can be different kind of threats to the financial system, right? जैसे कि trafficking होती है, money laundering is there, terrorist finance is there, and such kind of threats can be there to the financial system. So to control those threats, this organization was envisaged initially, right? Now how it evolved, let's just see how it evolved from this basic idea of providing security to the financial systems of the world. So it began with the G7 in 1989. G7 proposed that we need to have a grouping that can work on money laundering, that is financing the illicit drug trade of those times. You just try to imagine that in 1990s, this illegal drug trade, narco trade, this was a very dominant issue at that time. You might have watched the series Narcos also on Netflix, Colombia वगैरह में. You know, this drug trade, drug cartels used to exist. At that time, drug trafficking was a grave concern, and to finance these drug trades, they used to use illegal financial transactions, money laundering के through. They used to provide, safeguard the money that they generate from drug trade. So at that time, G7 proposed that we need to have one such institution that can look over, that could regulate such kind of illicit activities that are happening. Right. So initially, for first time when FATF was established, the objective was to check money laundering that is being used by these traffickers involved in drug illicit trade. Right. Now, then the next important objective was added to FATF's list with the 9/11 attack. 9/11 attack at USA Twin Towers पे attack हुआ था, you know, by the terrorist in 2001, 2000 के around. So there, at that time again, terrorist financing was added to the list of FATF. It was said that now FATF will have to watch the way the terrorist organizations are financing themselves, right? So it was added to FATF's mandate that it will have to control all kind of illegal financial activities that are being overtaken, you know, that are being conducted by these terrorists to finance their operations. ठीक है, ये पैसा जनरेट कैसे कर रहे हैं, कैसे हेरा फेरी कर रहे हैं पैसे की, और खुद के वायलेंट मीन्स को सपोर्ट फाइनेंस कर रहे हैं. Right. So FATF will work on controlling terrorist financing all over the world. कि ऐसी कोई भी illegal financial transactions ना हो that promote terrorism in the world. Right. So this next objective was added. Now over the years, weapons of mass destruction, as we call them, weapons of mass destruction are emerging. Weapons of mass destruction are emerging. Weapons of mass destruction, like they can be nuclear weapons, they can be biological weapons, they can be chemical weapons. All these weapons that have the potential to harm a large population, right? That is why its name mass, weapons of mass destruction, right? So in 2012, curbing the proliferation or increase in the weapons of mass destruction all around the world, that was also added to the objective, to the list of objectives of FATF, right. So G7 established this grouping in 1989 so that it can counter check money laundering activities that are financing the drug trade, right. The next major threat that the financial systems witnessed in the world was with the coming of terrorist attacks in the form of 9/11, जिसकी वजह से we made it, the world try to control the purse, the finances that are going to these terrorist organizations. So the next objective was added to FATF's list, and now weapons of mass destruction are threatening the safety, security, peace in the world, and that is why we have to check the financing that is going in the proliferation or increase in the development of these weapons of mass destruction. So this again has been added as an objective of FATF, right. So this is the entire evolution of FATF till now, how it started from here and has added these 3 important objectives in this list. These are very important. Make sure to write down these 3 objectives, so you can use that in answers, right. Now FATF has 39 members. It has total 39 members, 37 nations or countries as such, plus 2 regional organizations, are its members. These 2 regional organizations are European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council. European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council. It's not visible here, I suppose. I'll just erase it and write it for you quickly. So FATF has 39 members, out of which 32 are individual nations, 2 are regional organizations. These regional organizations are European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council, right. ये factual information is important for you. You can get prelims में कोई question आ सकता है, कोई भी state exam या government exam you are undertaking, there you can find questions on FATF on this factual information. इसके members क्या हैं, कितने members हैं, all that. For that it is important. Even if when you are writing subjective answers, you can use this information, right. Now that is the basic information. These are the objectives that we discussed. First is to curb money laundering, right. Money laundering is nothing but converting illegal money into legal means by using these 3 steps. You will, by using these 3 steps, right. Then combat terrorist financing, and then curb proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. So these are the objectives. Now we will see how FATF operates. So basically FATF uses the concept of lists. It has made 2 lists, black list and grey list, right. Black list signifies the countries who have not taken, who are reluctant to follow the guidelines established by FATF, right. Now FATF has recognized some financial threats. It will set some rules कि कैसे banks को operate करना है, how the money will get transferred, the account names and numbers should be clear, all that guidelines it will set, right. Now there will be some countries who will not follow the guidelines set by FATF, who will be reluctant, who will be rejecting the guidelines and the norms and standards and rules established by FATF, and they are put under the blacklist by FATF, showing that these countries are supporting some kind of illegal activities that can be terror funding, that can be money laundering, right, and they are not following the mandates provided by FATF, right. Now grey list are the countries who have taken some action on the suggestions made by FATF, right? They have not completely complied by the regulations that FATF has set. So there are some allegations on these grey listed country that they finance, they support money laundering or terrorist in some way, right, by not following the standards set by FATF, right? So they have partially followed the rules and regulations of FATF, but they have still much to achieve. So at that time they are put in the grey list as a warning. FATF is putting them in the grey list as a warning that if you do not function according to the regulations set by FATF, then you will be going to the blacklist. You will be going to the blacklist, right? So that is why these two lists are important, blacklist and grey list, right? Now we will also need to know, right, that what are the functions, total functions and mandates of FATF, कि total काम करता क्या है. It operates through these lists, that we have understood, but before that इसका overall functions, roles, mandate क्या है, right? Functions, role or mandate of FATF, right? Overall functions क्या हैं FATF के. Now as we have discussed that it has been set up to ensure safety of the financial systems. So सबसे पहला इसका function होता है to identify and to identify and analyze various kind of threats to the financial system that can emerge, right? It can be terrorist financing, it can be other kind of threats. So it has to timely recognize, identify and analyze those threats, that how can certain operations, certain ways of operations by banks or individual impact the financial systems, right? And then at timely it will have to indulge in risk assessment or threat assessment, that what are the different threats and risks that are there to the global financial systems, right? What are the potential risks and threats at national level or regional level or at global level that can threaten the normal functioning of the financial systems, that can impact the safety and security of a country or a region, right? Which are their countries? You do not need to remember all the 37 countries, just to know India is a member, US is the member, China is a member, Pakistan is a member, the important nations in and around this Asian region relevant to India that you should know. सारी याद करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, right? So the first objective is to identify and analyze all kind of threats, be it money laundering, be it terrorist financing or any other kind of threat that can harm the integrity or the normal effective functioning of financial system. So पहले तो threats को identify और analyze करना, that is its main aim. Now second is risk or threat assessment, right? कितना लेवल का रिस्क कहीं भी एक्टिविटी से अराइज कर सकता है, that it will identify. Then it will propose or set measures that can be undertaken to combat these threats, to combat the illegal activities, to combat misuse of international financial system, राइट? ऐसे क्या क्या मेजर्स कंट्रीज ले सकती हैं जिससे हम जो भी थ्रेट्स अराइज हो रहे हैं, रिस्क्स अराइज हो रहे हैं, उनको फाइट कर सके, उनको कॉम्बैट कर सके, राइट? सो द नेक्स्ट स्टेप वुड बी setting up those measures, right? Now they will keep developing international standards that should be followed by financial institutions to prevent any harm to the global financial system, right? They will develop such international standards that can help combat the financial risks. जितने भी financial risks है, that is money laundering, terrorist financing, इन सबको fight कैसे करना है. They will tell us the measures, they will set some standards that if a country follows, they will not face such threats. So वो standards establish भी करे जाएंगे, right? अगर ऐसा कोई थ्रेट अराइज होता है सो उनको फाइट करने के लिए मेजर्स भी दिए जाएंगे, राइट? सो ऑल दीज रोल्स विल बी फॉलोड. नाउ द नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन ऑफ FATF इज पीयर रिव्यूज, राइट? किसी भी कंट्री की the member countries are assessed that whether they are following these standards or not by peer reviews. जितने भी members हैं they will participate in evaluating that whether the member nations they are following the standards set by or developed by FATF, right? So for example, India can go to the FATF meeting and state there with proof that see, these are the ways that Pakistan is still financing the terrorism, right? These are some of the ways in which India takes proof and shows there that how Pakistan is not abiding by the norms and the standards and regulations set up under FATF, right? So that is how by using peer reviews of the member countries, the operations of the FATF happen, right? Now after the peer reviews, the other important role of function of FATF is to identify the non-compliant nations. Identify non-compliant nations or jurisdictions. जैसे हमने कहा कि ये ब्लैक लिस्ट और ग्रे लिस्ट बनाएंगे, देखेंगे that which are the countries who are not cooperating for the objectives established by FATF. Financial systems को safe and secure रखने के लिए they have set some standards. Now they will identify which are those countries who are not following the set standards, right? So they will also now identify, that role is also there, and once identify, they will enforce all the guidelines that they have developed, right? They have to enforce these guidelines. They have to ensure that member countries follows the rules and regulations, the norms and standards that are set up by the FATF. तभी FATF का कोई फ़ायदा है, सिर्फ स्टैंडर्ड्स डेवलप करने से कुछ नहीं होगा, उनको इन्फोर्स या इम्प्लीमेंट भी करना ज़रूरी है, राइट? अब इसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को कौन इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं कर रहा, वो पीयर रिव्यूज़ के द्वारा असेस किया जाता है. थ्रू इट्स ओन रिसर्च ऑल्सो इट असेसेस, बट थ्रू पीयर रिव्यूज़ ऑल्सो इवेल्युएशन इज डन, राइट? एंड देन द गिल्टी, द नॉन कंप्लायंट नेशंस आर आइडेंटिफाइड, right? So these are the series of functions that it performs, right? So that is why these are the set of functions and roles performed by FATF, right? So you see, FATF as such does not have any power to sanction the countries, to block the countries from the countries who are found as non-compliant. इनके अगेंस्ट एज सच कुछ नहीं कर सकता, कोई सैंक्शंस नहीं लगा सकता, बट FATF हैज़ अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग पावर, दैट इज़ एन इनडायरेक्ट पावर, दैट व्हेनेवर इट लिस्ट्स एनी कंट्री इन एनी ऑफ दीज लिस्ट्स, whenever it lists any of the country of the world in these lists, it is showing to the entire world that these countries are irresponsible countries. They cannot be trusted with the financial systems that they are operating, right? So grey listing or black listing say the entire world's confidence in the economic system, financial institutions of that country will be impacted, right? See, जैसे Pakistan is in the grey list. Now every country, every company is threatened to put its money in Pakistan के banks में, Pakistan के projects में, Pakistan के financial institutions में, Why? Because they know that this is a country that supports illegal activities, terrorist financing, money laundering. That means in future they will cause financial issues, right? So a lot of impact is there on the country when it is listed in the grey or blacklist of FATF. So बहुत domestic pressure also emerges on the listed countries to follow the standards of FATF, right? So formal FATF के पास कोई sanctions या tools are not available to control these countries, but indirectly by using these signals they are trying to control these countries, that sudhar jao, otherwise economically you will be impacted. The rest of the world will not put their money in your illegal, illicit financial systems, right? That is some kind of way that FATF is using, right? Force, there is a limitation, Ravi, to whatever operations it can conduct. To some extent, yes, they can seek information, but to a larger extent they work by indirect means, in which they try to signal to the entire world that these countries are non-compliant. Doing business with these financial systems is not healthy for the rest of the world, right? So that is how this FATF is working. So this FATF institution is again very important for your examination perspective. Kabhi bhi they can ask a note on you on FATF from you, right? So iski bhi details, you do all the functions and mandates that we have said, the 3 main objectives that have evolved over the years. So un sab ka make a notes of them and try to remember them. Now there is a question for seize the mains, this topic, seize the mains, right? Please write down this question, try to write an answer to this question and then post it on our website, right? Every at 9 PM we'll be providing you the discussion also of this answer. Try to write a good answer to this question, right? So that was all for this session. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any doubts, you can post it in the comment section. We'll respond to that. Thank you so much for joining.